There are so many video games launching in February of 2024 that I decided to pull out the 14 that I'm either looking forward to the most, or at the very least, I'm interested in seeing how well they do. 2024 is shaping up to be a massive year for games. When I put together my top 25 list of the games I was most interested in, it had to be whittled down because I was just looking at what I thought were the biggest games coming this year, and when the list got close to 40, I knew I had to chop it down. And within February alone, there are 14 games that might not be on my top 25 list, but they're coming out, and I'm actually interested in playing a lot of these. So I'm going to give you the release dates in order of these games, give you a little bit of commentary on what I think about them. Some of these games I have recently covered. So kicking off the month is going to be Granblue Fantasy Relink. Now, I have to admit, the co-op aspect of this game and the combat and the art style does actually appeal to me. Many people have said it gives them sort of Genshin vibes. Now, those who have played the game have indicated that it does feel a little bit like there are live service elements. It is a full launched RPG that you can play offline. However, people were sort of pointing to the activities as being something you might find in a live service game. They have also indicated that they will talk about microtransactions at a later date, and they have said that they already have new characters slated for April. So those 2 new characters will be coming out, and you use an in-game currency to unlock the characters. The game will be launching with like 19 something odd characters. Now, my worry and concern is if that in-game currency becomes very difficult and very grindy, it'll be very easy to offer you in-game purchases in a store where you can get that currency to then get those characters when they come out. So there is, in my mind, a little bit of a concern there that could turn into a game where you end up having what I call the art of the squeeze, where the game's sort of natural earn rates are so not great that you feel motivated to spend money. I'm happy to be wrong. It looks like a great game. People that played the demo had nothing but good things to say about it, and it's coming on February the 1st. Now, the next game, right on the heels of February the 1st, is February the 2nd. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and this game has been sort of embroiled in criticism and people saying it's bad. The preview event did not go well, and then those who had been playing the alpha sort of campaigned for a lift the NDA, in which they were able to talk about the game and give it high praise. And recently there was a stream with some pretty big YouTubers and streamers where people got a glimpse at the end game and some of the content loop, and it seems like some people's opinions have been changed. I recently covered the game and said there is more than expected here. They've already announced that Season 1 in March will feature the Joker, as well as 2 story beats with Two-Face and Scarecrow. And then even then, there will be new activities as well as new gear to chase just in that season. And then seasons 2 through 4 will feature the same thing. All post-launch content will be free. I know people look at the gameplay loop and it doesn't appeal to them because it's more of an action, third-person shooter, open-world game, as well as the live service elements. But I, for one, think this game has been written off a little bit too quickly, largely because of the game type, game style, as well as people just in general were hoping that Rocksteady built something else. So that's landing on February the 2nd. And just recently announced is Foamstars on February the 6th. This was sort of a surprise given that we weren't sure when PlayStation's live service push was really going to ramp up. Well, apparently they want to ramp it up in February, because if Granblue ends up feeling a little light service light as they add characters and maybe create a bit of an ongoing vibe, and then you have Helldivers in a moment that I'm going to talk about, and then Foamstars on February the 6th, really, it seems that PlayStation's trying to kick off the year with lots of different games and lots of different game types within the live service genre. This is another title I think people have been very quick to dismiss and write off. Even the people who have played it, every single preview basically said the same thing. They were surprised by how fun it was, and there are people saying they think it's a surprise hit. I think this is one of the sleeper titles this year that'll capture a fairly large audience. I could see a large audience in the Asian market really rallying around this, and even the director says he hopes more people play it and see that it's not just sort of a Splatoon clone. Now, again, these games are all practically right on top of each other. February the 8th is going to be Helldivers 2. Also recently covered this in a live stream, just talking about how there's a lot here, and it looks like it's really going to be good. I'm sorry, it's actually an upload. I did an upload saying I think Helldivers 2 will be good. I walked through all the newest details about the game, progression, stratagems, all the different things you're going to be able to do with your character and with your ship. This is one game that we believe is one of the live service games from PlayStation, mainly because of the way that it's built, the way the last game did have ongoing content, Helldivers 1, as well as the fact that this is releasing on PlayStation 5 and PC. Day and date, February the 8th. You can get it for both platforms, and that is something PlayStation said they would be doing with their live service titles. The only thing we don't know about this game is what sort of post-launch content plans do they have? Is there a roadmap? Will there be seasons, battle passes, those sorts of things, new missions to go on, new planets, things of that nature? It appears there's about 8 planets at launch. And if you want to see all the different mission types and how it all plays out, check out my Helldivers 2 Will Be Good video. I kind of walk through all those different things. And not to let up on the pace here, February the 13th will be Banishers Ghosts of New Eden. I think this game's gameplay looks really, really interesting. I have seen some people sort of saying that it looks cool and it looks flashy, but it doesn't really interest them. I'm definitely getting some of the Atlas Fallen or Forspoken vibes where you're just sort of spamming everything around you with lots of particle effects and lots of very flashy attacks. However, the more I look at the gameplay and the more I look at sort of how it's interwoven with this other character, I'm actually intrigued by the story, the voice acting, the tone, the music. It does seem very interesting, and the combat does seem unique as you sort of flash between the two characters simultaneously. I think that could be very, very fun. And again, this one's landing on February the 13th. And just on its heels, on February the 14th, is going to be Tomb Raider 1 through 3 Remastered. Now, for some people, this isn't that big of a deal. They're not really interested in remasters, or maybe they're not really interested in these older titles. But for many people, Tomb Raider is an absolute classic. These games largely, obviously, inspired other games. You've got lots of games sort of in this genre and world now. I love Tomb Raider 1 and 2 sort of reboot that they did. I was not a fan of the third game, but I'm interested in this, February the 14th. That is just, that's halfway through the month, and we've already listed so many titles. We've already listed 6 titles, and we're only halfway through the month. And I'm not listing everything, by the way. If you do enjoy this kind of content, uploads and talk shows, hit subscribe and the bell button so you don't miss my content. And if I missed something, put it in the comments below. Put it on our radar. February the 16th is going to be Ultros. Now, this game is a great little sci-fi exploration adventure game. It is a side scroller with a very, very cool original art style. And this game is coming out on February the 16th. This is one that is multi-plat, and it is, I believe, going to be hitting Game Pass as well. And these are the types of games that I just love. I've been absolutely loving Prince of Persia, and this game's art style, I think, is just fabulous. I've not really seen a really cool hand-drawn art style in a while, and this does give me the hand-drawn vibes. I remember Sundered was another great sort of Metroidvania game that gave those vibes as well. So that lands on February the 16th. So be sure to check out Ultros. Don't ignore those smaller, maybe more indie titles, because I definitely think sometimes they are worth checking out and they get ignored. People tend to maybe ignore them. Now, February the 16th is pretty full because Skull and Bones is also coming out on February the 16th. Now, this is one that I am interested in from afar. I'm more interested in the Black Flag remake that we've heard rumors about, the team that was working on Skull and Bones. Some of them have now moved on to an unannounced project, and a lot of people are speculating that it's an Assassin's Creed Black Flag remake. Much of this game is essentially just the naval combat from Black Flag, and it's an online PvP game. You can walk around but not really do much with your pirate other than sort of talk to NPCs, gather missions, and when you gather resources, your boat just sort of hits a tree. So I don't think this game has staying power. I think people will get burned out very quickly, and sadly, I think they're mainly launching it because they're legally obligated to, which is a bummer because lots of people probably poured a lot into it and were hoping that it would be a good game and a successful game, and it likely just won't. But I'm interested to check it out and see how well it does because it's been around for a very, very long time. Now, one more title worthy of note on February the 16th is Mario vs. Donkey Kong. This is a remake, but this is a very old game, so I cannot wait to play this one. It harkens back to the classic Donkey Kong games. If you ever played Donkey Kong Junior especially, I played that on the Coleco. The little rope jumping here especially, very, very much in the vein of those classic titles, and this one is also co-op, so I can see my wife and I enjoying this as well as my kiddos. They enjoyed the Toad puzzle game quite a bit, and they've played that a lot recently. So this is also on February the 16th. So February the 16th is pretty full. Ultros, Skull and Bones, and Mario versus Donkey Kong. Now, the next one is one that you might not be paying attention to, but I think that you should. February the 21st, The Last Epoch 1.0 will land. Path of Exile 2 and The Last Epoch are both, I think, setting their sights on the ARPG genre, as Diablo 4 sort of fell from grace and can't really garner much attention with the audience anymore. I mean, they're trying to put things back on track. Hopefully they can, but I'm very, very interested to see what The Last Epoch and Path of Exile 2 are able to bring to the table. The art style, the movement, the lighting effects, the action, just very, very, I just think it looks awesome. And I think these titles bring something very special to the table. Friends of mine and members of the community that are really into ARPGs have said nothing but positive things about The Last Epoch and how they sort of interact with the community. And the Path of Exile and Last of Epoch teams sort of collaborate and work together so their seasons don't overlap because they play each other's games. So that one's landing on February the 21st, and the day after, on February the 22nd, is going to be Pacific Drive. This is a super unique title that's garnering a lot of attention all of a sudden, where it is essentially a run-based driving survival adventure game where your car is what you're upgrading and adding to and using to survive and get through. That's why it's called Pacific Drive. So this one is landing on February the 22nd, and I do think it looks very interesting. This one is going to be a PC and PlayStation game for those that are interested in playing it. Sorry, I didn't necessarily mention all the platforms for every single game. I was more focused on the games and the release date. So if any of these games interest you, just do a quick Google search. You can kind of see when they land. And the next one is one I've been keeping an eye on, and it does land on the exact same day as Pacific Drive, and it lands in early access, and it is called Nightingale. And this game is a PvE open world survival crafting game, and the way that you create the worlds with cards and the combinations of cards creating those worlds, I think makes this game look very, very interesting. It has tons of potential. I don't think this is one that people should sleep on. The art style, I think, is very, very cool. It's not some super hyper photorealistic game, but it has a very good feel, and I love the art style of the worlds and the creatures, and it sort of reminds me a little bit of No Man's Sky with the world creation and the creatures and things like that, and if you can really dictate that with those card combinations and play with other people and bring people into your worlds, I'm really excited to see where this one goes. And again, it is entering early access, so it's not like an actual launch, but I think it's one to pay attention to. It's one of the 14 games I'm kind of putting on your radar in February. Keep in mind, this is just February, and I'm not even listing all of the games. There are some lesser known titles and indie titles and games coming out that you might throw into the comments, which is great. There's just so much variety. There is so much going on, and this one took me by surprise. Now, I haven't been able to find a whole lot of gameplay for it yet, but Star Wars The Dark Forces remaster is coming on February the 28th, and we get a little bit of a glimpse here, but this is pre-alpha footage, so we haven't really gotten a firm look at this game yet, and it is coming late in February. Okay, you get a little, like I said, you get a little bit here, but again, this is not final. This is pre-alpha, and this is great. This is a classic. We're seeing more and more games land in that sort of doom shooter, boomer shooter, world that people really, really like. And this one, I think, will just be a fun one for those of us who grew up with games like this and played these games back in the day when we were playing a lot of games like Rise of the Triad and other games on our PCs. This harkens back to a long time ago in my gaming history, and I really think we're going to see more and more games like this, and that one's February 28th. Now, the fact that we haven't seen anything that's not pre-alpha, because that trailer's only 5 months old and it's a bunch of pre-alpha footage, that could see a delay. We could see a delay, but right now, its release date is slated for February the 28th. And not to not end strong, February 29th is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Now, I'm anticipating not really vibing with this. I didn't really vibe with the Final Fantasy VII Remake. I loved Final Fantasy 16. I'm still sort of waiting for the performance patch. Probably never going to get one, but I loved Final Fantasy 16. I only took a break because other games came out and I was hoping to get a patch. Whenever they finally fixed Jedi Survivor, I set 16 aside hoping for that performance patch. And I love the graphics, the art style. They've put so much love into the Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but I didn't vibe with the remake, so I'm not sure if I'll vibe with Rebirth, but it's on my radar. I definitely want to make sure and check it out, and I think many of you are already checking it out, or maybe you should check it out as well. So there you have it. That's 14 games just in February of 2024 with the release dates that I think you should potentially put on your radar or check out. Let me know what games you're looking forward to in February or the rest of the year. Put those in the comments below. These videos typically roll over into a Writer's Room segment. If you subscribe to the channel at the $6 Writers tier, you can be a part of the planning of our uploads as well as our shows and kind of get a behind-the-scenes look. If you want to see the rest of my content, live shows and uploads happen every day, and all you got to do is hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.